The NBA draft is less than 2 weeks away, and for today's video, I'm going to be giving my final official rankings for the top 30 prospects in the 2024 NBA draft. This will be my 4th ranking video. We did one preseason of the collegiate season, we did one in the midseason, and we did one at the end of the season. So you guys are going to see a number in the corner of your screen. It's going to be their average ranking throughout this video and the other 3 previous ones I did. So you kind of get a sense on where they've been all year and see if they've maybe risen up here in the final ranking or have fallen. And like always, if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear who you guys have in your top 5 and in your top 10s, and maybe if I'm too high or too low on a certain guy specifically. And I'm so excited for the 2024 NBA draft. I will be live streaming it on this channel, so make sure you are subscribed with notifications on, and let's get into this. And before we get into this and I say my 5 honorable mentions, I want to say that these guys' rankings are also determined on where they end up getting drafted. If there's a prospect that I really like, but they're raw and they need time to develop, I really wouldn't like it as much if they went to a team trying to contend, or vice versa. A guy that's ready to win right now and will also be better utilized in the playoffs is on a team that will not be making the playoffs for the next couple of seasons. And my 5 honorable mentions that just missed the cut, that could be here at the end of the 20s, are Cam Christie from Minnesota. Thought he was going to stay another year in college, but it's a ton of potential. I like him a ton as a prospect. Would use a late first, early second on him. Keyshawn George out of Miami. Love the 3D potential. Just missed out on here. He really depends on where he gets drafted to succeed. Osei Ighodaro, the big man from Marquette. Love his feel for the game. One of the better passing big mans in this draft. KJ Simpson, point guard from Colorado, killed the combine. And Bobby Klintman from the NBL. Those are my 5 honorable mentions. Is Baylor Shireman from Creighton. Shireman spent 3 years at South Dakota State before spending the last 2 years at Creighton, so he is one of the more older prospects in this draft. He definitely has a super low ceiling compared to some of these honorable mentions I just talked about, but Shireman is one of the best shooters in this class, and I think he has a very high floor. That's why I think he's a top 30 prospect in this class. He did shoot 38% from 3 last year on 8 attempts a night in a very good conference in the Big East. He's got a great feel for the game. He can work the pick and roll as a ball handler and as a screener. I think he's actually pretty versatile and can play multiple positions at the NBA level. Is never going to be an all-star in this league, but could be a very good rotational piece for years to come. Coming in at number 29, we have another 5-year guy here that had his extra year of COVID eligibility, and it's Kevin McCullough from Kansas. Spent his first 3 years at Texas Tech, last 2 years at Kansas, and a reoccurring trend you're going to see with these upperclassmen that I would really like it if they went to a team trying to compete next year. Kind of like Jaime Jaquez, an older prospect in the 2023 draft, going to the Miami Heat. I'm not a fan of older prospects going to rebuilding teams like Chris Duarte going to the Indiana Pacers a couple of drafts ago as well. And McCullough could do a little bit of everything. The big question for him is his shot going to fall? But he's someone that can create his own shot in the half court, would be a perfect off the bench kind of combo forward, but can also play the point a little bit. He's an underrated playmaker. He's physical. He can get to the line, and he's also a plus free throw shooter as well. Coming in at number 28, we have Jalen Tyson. Spent 3 years in college basketball at 3 different schools. His freshman year at Texas, sophomore year at Texas Tech, and this past year at Cal. This guy is a bruiser. He loves contact and can get to the rim. He's good in the half court. He can play make a little bit, and we've seen a decent sample size for him being a good shooter in collegiate basketball. So I think that's going to translate over to the NBA level, and he's going to go up and get rebounds. This dude is very physical on the offensive and defensive glass, and that's why I think he's a top 30 prospect in this draft, and he can be a nice forward off the bench for a contending team. A player that I've been super high on all year, but is going to be pretty low in this top 30 is going to be Ryan Dunn. He's coming in at number 27. You guys know that I loved Ryan Dunn all year. The defense is legit. He's the best perimeter defender in this draft, better than Ron Holland, better than Stephon Castle, better than Devin Carter. This guy is an absolute stud on the perimeter, point of attack, can switch defensively into the passing lanes, and really intercept passes with his high basketball IQ on that end of the floor. The one con about Ryan Dunn, and it's a pretty big one, is he can't shoot. The shot is super inconsistent right now. If he develops a consistent jumper, he's going to be a top 10 player in this class, but that is a big if, and teams need to realize that if they are going to be using a first-round pick on Ryan Dunn from Virginia. Coming in at number 26, a player I'm definitely lower on than the overall consensus is going to be Kyle Filipowski, the big man from Duke. People look at Filipowski and think that he's going to be a consistent floor spacer at the center position, and I disagree. I don't know if he's going to be as consistent from downtown that everybody thinks he's going to be. He was not a good shooter whatsoever in his freshman year, and yes, he did improve from outside the arc in his sophomore year, but the free throw percentage plummeted. I don't know if I love the form. I don't know if he's going to be consistent enough where he's going to be worth a high first-round pick on in this draft, and I do think he's a little bit slow defensively, but I do think overall he's a plus offensive player, and this guy could actually be a good offensive hub in the post on a second unit. And I do think Filipowski is a first-round player in this draft. I just don't think he's a top 20 guy in this class. Coming one spot ahead of Kyle Filipowski, we have Yves Missi, the big man out of Baylor. I do think that Yves Missi has a higher ceiling than Filipowski. He's more athletic. He has better defensive potential, but I think that's going to be a little bit. I don't think he's going to be super impactful in his rookie year. And I could be completely wrong. He could have like a Derek Lively type rookie season, but I do think it's going to take a little bit more time for Yves Missi to develop in this league, especially if he goes to a team that does not have a good initiating point guard. But Yves Missi should be pretty good on the back half of that rookie contract and can be a good rotational big in the NBA. Coming in at number 24, we have our first freshman we're going to talk about, and it's going to be Johnny Furphy from Kansas. I got to spend a little bit of time up close in person watching Johnny Furphy in his smooth looking jumper at the draft combine this year, and that is NBA ready. That will play right away. Furphy was a solid shooter last year at Kansas, but I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to develop in this league, especially if he goes to a team like Denver in the end of the first round. Getting thrown from Kansas to a Nikola Jokic-led system is going to be a tough transition, but I think he's going to be a very consistent shooter in this league for a long time, and if you're a team that needs some shooting like a Toronto, like Orlando, he'd be a perfect fit for you. Coming in at number 23, we have our first point guard. It's going to be Tyler Kolek at Marquette. He spent 3 years at Marquette, his sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. Spent his freshman year at George Mason. And Kolek is one of the best facilitators in this draft. He is a floor general. He's able to slow the game down, get his teammates involved, and when everything kind of gets chaotic, he's able to get everything in order. And that's why I'd love to see him go to a team to be an orchestrator for that offense. Maybe it's a Phoenix, maybe if it's a Knicks second unit, or maybe if it's a Minnesota team or a backup to Jamal Murray. There's so many good fits in the back half of the first round for Tyler Kolek, who can give you immediate good playoff minutes in 2025 and onwards. Next up, we got Tidjane Salaün coming in at number 22, French prospect here. Definitely kind of all over the place with him. Someone that does have high potential, but a super low floor. I think he's comparable to Ousmane Dieng from a couple drafts ago. I don't know if he's going to be NBA ready right away, and it really depends on where he gets drafted to. Obviously, if it's OKC, he's got a little bit more time to develop until they have to pay some of those guys, but maybe if it's like a Toronto or Chicago, they want him to play next year, and there's going to be some growing pains with Salaün, but if he reaches his full potential, could be one of the more versatile players in this draft. And coming in at number 21, we probably have the most polarizing player in this draft, and that's going to be Zach Edey. I pretty much have Edey in that second tier of big man after Sarr and Klingon, and there's obviously some big man around him in this rankings as well, and Edey was the best player in college basketball last year, averaged 25 points and 12 rebounds for a Purdue team that made it to the national championship, and he's been a dominant college player for the last 2 seasons. He's definitely slow out there on the defensive end of the floor. I don't know if the rumors and hype that he's going to have an outside shot are actually going to be true at the NBA level, but he's someone that's going to be efficient inside. He's going to block some shots. He has a super high floor, and I think he could be a good backup big man right away. And I'm also curious to see if he could be a starting big man right away. We'll see if he goes back home to the Raptors. That would be pretty cool. Phoenix needs some big man competition with Yusuf Nurkic, so there's definitely some fits for Edey. And who knows, maybe he's going to be a lottery pick, and maybe Memphis really likes him, or Portland. But I just think that there's a limit what he could be offensively in the modern game, so that's why I have him at 21 and not in the top 20. To kickstart the top 20, we got DaRon Holmes out of Dayton, another big man here. Holmes has been fantastic at Dayton the last 2 seasons, and even was good as a freshman at Dayton as well. He's gonna fly all over the floor. This dude is gonna rebound. He's gonna block some shots. He has a good post game, but he also spaced the floor a little bit at Dayton last year. Shot 38% from 3, and I think that's a big thing with these big men. We're gonna get to Kel'el Ware. You got Zach Edey, you got Filipowski, Yves Missi, and DaRon Holmes. If one of these guys becomes a consistent floor spacer, they're definitely gonna separate themselves from the pack of big men in this class, but we gotta find out who's gonna be consistent from downtown. And coming in at number 19, we got Kel'el Ware from Indiana. So yeah, it's pretty much Ware, Holmes, Edey, Missi, Filipowski in the second tier of big man. And Kel'el Ware was all over the place this past season. The highs are really high with Kel'el Ware, but the lows are really low. It seems like he won't get back on defense at times, bad awareness on that end of the floor when he's not on, but when he's on, this guy could be a vicious shot blocker, a good rim protector. He could also space the floor, super athletic as a lob threat, and a pick and roll partner. He is a boom or bust prospect in this draft, but I think he's going to be more towards the boom, and I'm a big fan of Ware. Man, I love Carlton Carrington in this draft. Bub Carrington from Pittsburgh, a point guard, is one of the younger players overall in this class, and he was great last year at Pittsburgh. He was inefficient at times for sure, but the shot looks really good, and he showed that at the combine as well. He was one of the standout players from the combine, especially with his shooting potential. He could rebound, he could play make. He's 6'4", 6'5". This dude could be a true combo guard at the NBA level, and like I said, he's one of the younger players in this draft class. He could definitely take some time to develop, but be one of the better players overall, in my opinion, if he reaches his fullest potential. Another guy I'm super high on, probably more than the consensus, is going to be Tyler Smith, coming in at number 17 from the G League Ignite. 6'10", 11, Tyler Smith has a smooth looking jumper for somebody of his size. It's definitely going to play right away at the NBA level, and he's going to be a beautiful pick and pop partner for any point guard that he gets paired up with at the NBA level. I actually think he's a solid rim protector as well. Definitely going to need more time to kind of grow with his awareness. It was a poor environment at the G League Ignite last season, but he has potential, in my opinion, to be a top 5 player from this class. I just really hope a team that drafts him invests the right amount of time and resources into him. One of my favorite seniors in this class is going to be Tristan Da Silva, coming in at number 16 from Colorado. Da Silva can do a little bit of everything. The dude can pass, the dude can shoot, he can defend, he can dribble, he can run in transition, he can score at the rim. He's going to crash the glass. He's not elite at a lot of these things, but he's good at most of them, and that's going to be a really good rotational piece for a playoff team, and I would love if he ended up in a Philadelphia, in a Cleveland, in a Miami. Coming in at 15, we got Jared McCain from Duke. McCain is one of the best shooters in this draft. He actually held up his own on the defensive end of the floor last year, in my opinion. I'd like to see him more as an on-ball player rather than an off-ball player. At Duke, he spent a lot of time off-ball with guards like Jeremy Roach and Tyrese Proctor, kind of demanding that rock over there, but wherever he ends up, I actually think he could have maybe an Emmanuel Quickley type player comparison, and obviously Sacramento would be a great fit. Miami, and playing alongside Emmanuel Quickley in Toronto would be pretty dope. We got Jacoby Walter from Baylor. Walter is definitely a true boomer bust prospect, but I actually think the consensus is starting to get a little low on Walter. Just a couple weeks ago, he was someone that was supposed to be a lottery pick in this draft. Now he's a consensus outside the lottery guy. But Walter could actually be a good 3-and-D wing right away, and if he becomes more efficient at the rim, he could actually be a true efficient scorer in this league, but he's definitely raw as a prospect right now, but I think more NBA ready than some of these other raw guys that we've talked about, like a T-John Salon or a Johnny Furphy. Honestly, same traits here. Coming into my number 13 prospect, Cody Williams out of Buffalo. Cody Williams showed great potential from outside the arc last year at Colorado, but on a small sample size, did not take a lot of threes last year, but he did hit 42% of them, but he only took 1.7 a night. But if Williams hits his fullest potential, this dude could be an elite defender in this league with his wingspan. He does need to put on a lot of weight, needs to get more physical, needs to get more aggressive, especially late in games, something he kind of struggled with at Colorado this past season. I'd obviously love to see him in OKC with his brother Jalen Williams. And one of my favorite prospects in this draft, coming in at number 12, Devin Carter from Providence. He's definitely getting a lot of hype as of late. There's been some rumors that teams like the Grizzlies or the Bulls are giving him a promise to take him in the lottery. He spent his freshman year at South Carolina, then the last 2 years at Providence, and this dude is built for playoff basketball in the NBA. He's a guard, he's 6'3", but he plays up on that. He can guard you in the post. He's going to crash the glass offensively and defensively. He averaged 8.7 rebounds a night last year. I don't think he's going to be an elite playmaker by any means, but he's going to be able to be a consistent 3-point shooter. He's going to be able to get rebounds. You look at your Dante DiVincenzo's, your Josh Harts of the world, and how they excelled in playoff basketball. Yeah, that's Devin Carter. I need to see him on a team that's going to be making the playoffs in 2025. That's why I don't really want to see him in Chicago. I'm cool with Memphis. I don't really think I want to see him in Chicago. Another boomer bust prospect in this draft, kind of like Cody Williams or Jacoby Walters, coming in at number 11, and that's Montas Buzelis from the G League Ignite. Buzelis could get a lot of comparisons to Franz Wagner. I don't really think he's a one-to-one comparison with Franz, but he's someone that's definitely going to operate at his fullest potential pretty efficiently in the half court. I don't know how he's going to be with his outside jumper. He was not good this past year at the G League Ignite, shot sub 30%, but he was a good shooter in high school. So that makes me think, you know what, maybe last year is an outlier and he does have shooting potential. I don't think it's coming right away. You gotta be patient with him. And if you are, he could be super versatile with his ball handling ability at his size in the half court, can play multiple positions, but he needs to go to the right team. And to kickstart the top 10, we got Dalton Knecht from Tennessee. Knecht's got a cool story. He spent his first 2 years playing basketball at a JUCO, and then the next 2 at Northern Colorado. And then this past year at Tennessee, he broke out onto the scene in the SEC. He averaged 22 points, 5 rebounds a night, and shot 46% from the field and 40% from 3 on good volume. And we've seen him be a consistent shooter at Northern Colorado and now at Tennessee. He's one of the more NBA ready prospects in this draft. It's also because he's older than everybody else as well, but he could be a true 3-level scorer in this league, and I really want to see him go to a team that he can excel offensively, and maybe that is a Detroit, maybe that's a Portland, maybe that's even a Memphis. Actually, Charlotte as well would be pretty cool. Coming in at number 9, we have Isaiah Collier from USC. He was one of my top prospects in the preseason rankings, fell a little bit, but I still think everybody's kind of low on Collier. He should go in the lottery. lottery. Even at 6'5", though, he's a true point guard in this class. I think he's going to be a good shooter, man. If you look at that post-wrist injury splits with him at USC this past season, he was really good in the Pac-12. He finished his year with 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists a night. Shot 49% from the field, 34% from 3. He was just not a good free throw shooter, but he can get to the line. 6 attempts a night, one of the better free throw rates in this class. That's something he definitely needs to work on. And if he does, he could be a 20-point per game scorer in this league one day. Coming in at number 8, we have Donovan Clingan from UConn, my second-ranked center in this class. Clingan averaged 13 points, 7.5 rebounds last year for the national champion UConn Huskies. He's a sophomore coming into UConn, so he's got 2 rings over there. And I do think that there's a ceiling on what Clingan can be offensively. There's been kind of the film and the workouts that he could maybe have an outside shot. I'll believe it when I see it. But he's got one of the highest floors in this class to be a solid rim protector, a good screen setter, a good rebounder in this league. And who knows, maybe he ends up being the number 1 overall pick to Atlanta. Coming in at number 7, we got Nikola Topic, who's fallen a little bit because he does have a partially torn ACL. That is a little bit alarming. I think he's going to be okay. There's been rumors that he's going to fall outside the top 10 now. That would be an absolute steal if you're able to get him outside the top 10, because he's got the size, the strength for a modern day point guard. He can work the pick and roll. I believe he's going to have a consistent jumper in this league. He can hold his own on defense. He's going to be a good rebounder. Topic is a really good prospect in this draft, but I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to develop and maybe recover from these injuries, so you got to be patient with him. Coming in at number 6, we have Rob Dillingham, arguably the best shooter in this draft class out of Kentucky. Kentucky apparently gave DJ Wagner a promise to start him last year, so that's why Dillingham mostly came off the bench. He shot 48% from the field and 44% from 3 on good volume. This dude could be a true microwave scorer for a team right away. The reason why I don't have him higher is because I don't think he's going to be a good defender at the NBA level. He's too small. He's too weak at times to guard guys in the post, so he may be a nightmare if he gets switched on defensively. Coming in at number 5, we have Stephon Castle from UConn, a polarizing prospect in this draft for sure. Could go as high as number 2. He's been telling teams he doesn't want to go to you if you already have a franchise point guard, because he wants to play the 1 at the NBA level. I view him more as a wing right now because he was a wing this past year at UConn with guys like Cam Spencer and Tristan Newton there. But Castle is one of the better perimeter defenders in this draft. He's going to be a good off-ball player, can cut, can slash right away. He would be the number 1 overall pick in this draft if he was a consistent shooter, something he definitely needs to work on. Coming in at number 4, I got Zachary Risacher playing at JL Berg over in France. Man, Risacher's got good size. He's got a good ball handle for somebody that could be a great stretch for in this league. I think he needs to be a little bit more physical, but that's going to come with years in the NBA and getting stronger and physical and being under an NBA strength and conditioning team. Definitely needs to work on the defense inside and on the perimeter, but I do think he's going to be a very good player in this class. Top 5 player for me. Coming in at number 3, we got Reed Sheppard from Kentucky. In my opinion, the best shooter in this draft. Sheppard shot 54% from the field last year, and he shot 52% on threes. Also 83% from the line. He is an elite shooter, an elite scorer in my opinion, but can also be a good combo guard, but also a good point guard in this league. I think Sheppard is a top 3 player in this class, and it would be a great value if you got him outside the top 3. And coming in at number 2, I'm still high on Ron Holland. There's been some rumors that he could fall outside the lottery. That would be criminal. I would protest the league if that happens. Ron Holland's athleticism and defense right now alone should make him a top 5 player in this class. I think the shot diet's good. He's got confidence in his shot. The form is a little wonky, so hopefully that can get adjusted at the NBA level. But if he gets that down, this guy is going to be a 3-level scorer, an elite defender, and one of the more athletic players in the NBA as a whole. And coming in at number 1, it's been a consistent trend. It's Alex Sarr from Perth in the NBL. This dude's stats aren't going to jump out at you because he was playing behind one of the best big men in the NBL last year, but he's going to have elite defensive potential, elite athleticism for somebody of his size, good ball handler as well. It's truly a one-of-a-kind talent, and in my opinion, should be the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. So yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate it if you drop a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about any of the prospects I talked about down below, or even if there was a prospect that they didn't talk about in the top 30 of your honorable mentions, please let me know down below. And thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.